Hey there, Bible buddies. I've got another Bible review for you today, and this one is a 1977 edition of the New American Standard Bible produced in 1983 by the Moody Press. And this particular edition is a first printing, which is kind of interesting, and this is their Thinline center column reference edition. Now, I just did, or I don't know if it would have released as the last one, but recently there would have been a NASB75 produced by World. I figured I'd follow it up with a 77. Why not, right? Yay! So if anybody's interested in one of these and you guys happen to stumble upon them, it is a kind of not a unique edition, maybe unique for the time back in 1983. But it's it's certainly a nice edition of the 77 NASB. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Unfortunately, again, this one is another bonded leather edition. If you guys watched the last, the 75 edition by World, you saw me hating on bonded leather, but yeah, I can't really say much good about bonded leather, and this is another one, so it is what it is. But yet another simulated kind of leather grain there with some glued fiberboard. The fiberboard of the leather world. But it's kind of got the same features. It has a very slight perimeter line there on the edge. It is a nice burgundy color, which I like. I'm not like a super fan of burgundy. Black is my favorite color if you guys haven't figured that out. But every once in a while it's nice to have a Bible in a different color, and this is a nice, kind of a nice burgundy color, so I'm okay with it. On the spine, this is unique in the sense that it's kind of horizontally down the whole entire spine. I like that. You don't see that very often in Bibles. And it makes sense with this because, the words American Standard and Reference are all fairly large, and to get them, kind of running the normal orientation, it'd make them very tiny. So this is nice because it gets nice and kind of large to where you can easily read it. But you do have that kind of perimeter line continuing, and then you have New American Standard Reference Bible Concordance on the spine along with Moody Press. And then on the back, you have the continuation of that line again, and that nice, this simulated glued together leather texture there. As far as the other accoutrements of the outside go, we have a kind of a, looks like a burgundy and, I don't know, either like a burgundy or gold at some point, or maybe a burgundy and white. I can't really tell. The lighting here is kind of weird, but it looks like maybe a burgundy and white or burgundy and gold. I don't know what the camera's picking up. Sorry. There's one ribbon. We'll take a look at that in a second. You have a nice gilt there on the edge. It is kind of a, kind of a subdued gilt. I don't know. It's not very yellowy. It's kind of a light yellow. And it could just be kind of worn in from use, but it doesn't look like super, kind of super reflective or anything. It's kind of a dull, gilt versus some of the other stuff we've seen. So, the ribbon is a nice double-sided satin ribbon, and it is, pretty thick, albeit narrow. Another burgundy ribbon as well to kind of match the exterior. Nice. So, let's go ahead and open it up. On the inside, we do have a paste down liner. There is some reinforcing tape here. It is like a synthetic burgundy material that actually pretty accurately matches the leather. So it's nice to see that. Take a look at the corner work here for you. Whoop, whoop. And on the back, more of the same. On the front, I don't know if you noticed, but it looks like there's a little bit of separation here. That Oxford hollow got a little elongated, so at some point I'll have to glue it down. But I'm probably not gonna worry about it, to be honest. It's not a big deal. At least for me, so maybe the next person will, freak out about it, who gets it, but whatever. So we'll go ahead and get into it with a flyleaf there, and then it gets right into it, the title page there. It's interesting that they didn't put any kind of, additional sheets or anything like that, or a presentation page, but I guess since it's a thin line, they're probably trying to keep it, ultimately thin there. So we have New American Standard Bible, Reference Edition, and then Moody Press in Chicago. Whoop. On the back side of that, we have the copyright page. And you can see here that it is the first printing of 1983, and then the additional copyright information for the Lockman Foundation, and it was printed in the United States. Then we kind of have the standard Lockman fare for the NASB editions. You have your foreword and the 4 full name of the Lockman Foundation. You see a lot of the same stuff repeated, even up to nowadays with Lockman's Bibles. You have the preface to the New American Standard Bible, the principles of their translation. Definitely recommend reading that. And then your explanation of the general format. The abbreviations that are used throughout the footnotes. And I don't know if there's footnotes, but, used throughout the Bible anytime they reference anything. And then you have your books of the Old Testament and the New Testament. And then you just have your New American Standard Bible title page for the Old Testament. It gets right into it, Genesis. So I'll go ahead and zoom you guys in so you can see that text. Pretty nice text, I'll say. I've always been a fan of the NASB. Let's turn the page and we'll get a better feel for it. So, like I said in the last video, it's kind of standard, their layout. They don't deviate too much from it, but we do have a double column, verse by verse, it appears. Yeah, verse by verse, a double column, verse by verse. You do have the kind of the book names and the chapter numbers associated with that page in the top corners. You have your page numbers in the top center, and then you have your center column references there in the center. There's kind of a double line drop cap number for the chapter numbers, and then the way that they designate the new paragraphs is by bolding the verse number there. I don't know how well you can see it, but we'll take a look there. Yeah, so see for verse 8, and it's bolded, and then verse 9, it's just a normal size there. So that's how you know that it's a new paragraph. And I kind of like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Pilcrows. I think that they're a nice kind of carryover from the olden days. But this is definitely like a kind of more streamlined way of doing it, and it is pretty like quick to see. Sometimes like it takes me a second to find the Pilcrow marks because they kind of put them in at the beginning of the text. This is definitely a faster way for me to kind of realize where the paragraphs are fairly quickly. There are these little kind of running headers here. They're very short, and we saw that in the last edition as well. They're very, kind of compact at the beginning of the chapters there. And I saw some at the beginning. Let's see if we see any more kind of footnotes. There we go. So it's carryover the way they do it. So you have all of your center column references here, but you'll notice that this center column is very filled up. So any kind of overflow that they have, they put on the exterior here, exterior column. So you can see, let me get you in tight there so you can see. But yeah, so this is all your exterior cross references and those sorts of things. And the Lockman Foundation, the way they do it is they kind of intermingle everything in here. So you have footnotes and cross references kind of all jumbled up in there. Now, I think with the 2020 edition, they've moved to a different way of handling it, where they put the footnotes, down here at the bottom of the page, something like that. And then your cross references stay in the center. And I prefer that. It's just a little kind of to me, it's a tidier way of handling it. So let's get to, let's say here in the Psalms. Let's take a look at the paper. And also, it does not look like they made any attempt beyond like indenting the lines to kind of clean up the poetry there. So you'll see here, again, a whole slew of like single word lines, unfortunately. But we'll take a look at the paper. This paper is fairly nice considering that this is an ultra thin edition. So the paper, the paper itself isn't very bad. It doesn't feel like onion skin. It does have a nice texture. It's not like a super smooth paper. And also the show through is pretty good considering how thin the overall edition is. So, for Thinline, I'd give this an A easily. It's a nice paper, nicely done paper. And it is kind of a bone color, which is nice to see instead of, kind of the standard yellow or cream colored. Every once in a while, I like seeing a bone colored paper. So we have the end of Malachi. We have the New Testament title page. I have the Gospel according to Matthew. You can see the red letter here. We'll go to 5 and 6, where you can see the most of the red letter. I'll get you in tight there so you can see. Now, the way that they handle Old Testament quotes is they'll capitalize them. This is called like a small caps. So like the first letter or any letter that should be capitalized is like a large cap. And then every other letter that would normally be a lowercase letter, it's like a smaller cap. So they call it small caps. But that's how they handle Old Testament quotes. And this red letter is, it's not the best. It's kind of pinkish and it's kind of light. So not my super favorite. And you can see right here, it's not even that well done. So notice here how the kind of red my is like right up on the bottom of that word disciples. That's because the registration is off. So the way that it works when you print something, you print the page once with black, and then you have to send it through a second time to print the red. But you have to make sure that it's aligned properly. And if it's not aligned properly, if it's like crooked a little bit, or if it's scooted up or to the left or the right any more than it should be, you'll end up getting stuff like that where it kind of like sits on top of other text. So it's not even a nicely done red letter, unfortunately. This would be one of those instances where they probably should have just defaulted to a black letter text, which might be the case as to why the NASB went to black letter. Maybe they had a lot of complaints for this kind of thing. Would not surprise me. But let's go ahead and get to the end of the Bible. And there we are, right to it. The last page. And then you have your concordance again. I'll zoom in for you so you guys can see it. And the NASB has always had a good concordance. So this will probably be a good chunk, if not kind of everything you see here. Yeah, it's kind of similar to that 75 we looked at. So you have this whole chunk of concordance there, a good sizable chunk, especially for a thin line. This is a nice size concordance. And then you have one blank sheet, I guess if you want to take notes or do whatever on one single page of blank paper. And then you have maps. Now these are definitely an upgrade over the 75, much better colors. And I'm a fan of the kind of the topographic maps. I like seeing this kind of like a three-dimensional mountain kind of print, mountainscape print, and that sort of thing. This stuff looks cool to me. I know it makes it a little bit harder to read the maps, but I don't know. I'm more of a visual person, so and I don't really refer to the maps too often. I usually look at them maybe as I'm reading, like once or twice, maybe. Not really much beyond that. So, but they're nice to have. You know, I might not use them, but somebody out there probably does. These are a little more comic book colors, and that's okay. Now this paper isn't quite like a cardstock. It's a thicker paper, and it's a matte paper, which is nice. It's not glossy or anything like that. So you could take notes on it, and this would certainly hold up to any notes you might want to take. Now on the back, you just have the kind of the end sheet there, and then you see so evilly printed, genuine bonded leather. They really need to drop this. I don't know why they call this genuine bonded leather. It's kind of confusing because if you're not familiar with it, you would think that it's the same as genuine leather. It's not. And I think that most manufacturers now kind of leave this off for that reason. They just call it bonded leather directly. So yeah, let's get some measurements for you guys. So this one comes in at 8 and 7/8 of an inch tall by about 5 3/4 of an inch wide. And it's a thin one, I'm not going to deny that. And this one comes in at, it's like 7/8 of an inch thick. So pretty good size, nice and trim. Let's take a look at the text. And then I'll treat you guys and I'll do a comparison to the 75 that I just reviewed not too long ago. Let's see. Now this is definitely going to be a different size text. We'll do the... I don't even know. I keep having problems with this lately. I haven't been able to find like a good letter to compare it to. Here, we'll do the H and he. Yeah, it's getting kind of small. Looks to be probably about an 8-point font for the uppercase, for the capitals, uppercase, capitals. And then for the lowercase, we will do let's do the N in Chaldeans. It's a little smaller, about a 7.5. So I would say this is about a 7.5-point font for the Bible. Obviously, I always go with the lowercase letters because there's more lowercase than uppercase. That's just me. You guys can, sort it out accordingly. But let's go ahead and take a look at that 75. Give me 1 second. All right, so I have the 75 here done by World Publishing. And you can see, even the grain looks very similar. Very similar kind of style to the grain there. So who knows? They might have even been made in the same factory. I don't know. I think they were both printed in the U.S., so who's to say? They didn't indicate the printer, just that it was printed in the U.S. We'll go ahead and take a look here between the two. And the thin line's a little bit taller, not much, maybe about 1/2 inch. They're both about the same width. Thin line looks to be, no, they're really about the same. The thin line, you can see, does have a nice kind of concave text block there. The World is just a flat text block. Let's open them up. The font size is going to be pretty close, but the World Bible on the left is going to beat it out ever so slightly. And you can see, though, the comparison between the two. The World Bible does have a much yellower paper. That is because, I don't know if I said this in the review for this one either, the paper is very heavily oxidized. And it's very heavily oxidized around the edges, too. So however they were storing this Bible, it was not stored the best way. They might have even been smokers in the house because it is kind of a funky smelling Bible. But yeah, at least as far as text comparisons go, you can see the difference there between the 75 and the 77. The size really being the only thing. Again, these are both produced by Lockman. The layouts are almost identical. They even have kind of the similar, I guess, like main features as far as the, kind of the sans serif fonts across the top. The fonts look very similar, if not the same, in the text. So it looks like the only difference here might be just the drop caps on the chapters there. Let's see if they have them in the rest of the text. Yeah, so this one does have drop caps on the chapters instead of the chapter number indicators, like in the 77. So, Bible buddies, I guess if you have any questions, if you want to see any other comparisons, anything like that, please feel free to leave it down below. If you could, like, subscribe, comment, all that cool YouTube stuff that would help me out. That'd be much appreciated. Otherwise, until next time, Bible buddies, bye.